we have to start off with the strong Zubimendi links to Liverpool. Um, Martin Zubimendi, uh, Spanish national Spanish national team midfielder. Uh, a big part of the team that won the European Championship. Wasn't necessarily a starter, but has his moments where he was critical off the bench. And in the European Cup final, Championship final against England, he had to play the entire second half because of Rodri coming off, and he played really well in that final, in that second half. After Rodri sustained that injury, and he was really good. He was really good at moving the ball, being tidy, and he was able to be part of a team that won the European Championship. And he's overall a decent player. He was on the bench for Spain, which obviously when you have the midfield of what they can deploy of a Rodri, Pedri, Danny Olmo, who's also off the bench, but this is a player. He has very good ability in terms of passing range, in terms of short intermediate passes, in terms of midfield. He can be part of a midfield that can dominate in terms of possession. Very good on the ball, like every other Spanish midfielder. Has a good touch, can play the short balls, can play the medium balls. Has the possibility, the capacity to once in a while hits the long balls, but that's not really his game. And overall, he's a tidy player. He's clever. There's a little bit of a lack of athleticism. He's not the biggest for that 6 role that he's going to play, a defensive midfield role. He's not the biggest. He's not the most athletic as well. He's not going to do much of the defensive duties that a Rodri or that a Rodri would do, or that a traditional number 6 would do, in terms of covering spaces, in terms of the back line, covering the center backs, covering the full backs. Not really his game. He's not someone that sit in and defend. He will work hard. He has work rate, but that's just not. He's physically, there's a little bit of a lack of athleticism there. Now you're going into a Liverpool midfield that traditionally with Jurgen Klopp, you want a little bit more athleticism there, and you want heavy work rate. Jordan Henderson, he wasn't himself one of the most athletic player, and he wasn't the most technically gifted player, but he'd work really hard. He was the leader, he was the captain, and he would cover holes for the fullbacks whenever they'd push up the field, or he'd be a protector in between the center halves. That's not really what Martin Zubimendi does, but this is a new team, a new system under Arne Slot, and they're gonna want to, with Arne Slot, they're not gonna do what the Gengen press that Jurgen Klopp did for Liverpool in terms of pressing high up the field. And yes, I have seen your comment. I'm gonna talk about it at the end of the segment, Rakshit. But speaking of Zubimendi, though, I lost my train of thought there. But yes, with Arne Slot coming in, this is going to be a team that's going to want to control the ball, keep possession in midfield. And I think Zubimendi is a better complement to McAllister and Dominic Soboslai than Endo would be, in terms of being able to keep possession of the ball, to control in midfield, to dominate the games with possession. I think Zubimendi has more quality in terms of on the ball than Endo. I do think what Endo provides that Zubimendi can't is a little bit more athleticism, a little bit better ability to cover holes in the defense, that fullbacks might leave going forward, or the center backs being out split wide, someone that can come in between them and serve as sort of like an extra third center back. I think Endo gives you more of that, but in terms of ball ability, being able to control the ball, just pure quality, Zubimendi, I think it's a very good player. And the thing is, he's only 25 years old. This is a guy that you're going to get many years of. He has a 60 million release clause, 60 million euros release clause, so which is not absolutely ridiculous, ridiculous. It's not absolutely ridiculous. 60 million nowadays. I wouldn't spend. There's no way I would spend 60 million on Martin Zubimendi. But nowadays, people are priced very, very highly. You have Julian Alvarez, a bench striker at Manchester City, going for almost 90 million. It's just this day and age, the economy. To get quality players, you have to spend a crazy amount of money. That's the day that we live in today. As far as Zubimendi, Liverpool are made it clear they are willing to trigger Martin Zubimendi's release clause. Real Sociedad, they expect Martin Zubimendi to accept the move to Liverpool, to accept the fees, like in terms of the personal negotiations. Clubs, the thing is right now, clubs, they still, between Real Sociedad and Liverpool, they still need to agree on a transfer fee, unless Liverpool decide to trigger the release clause, in which I saw another report that Liverpool would be willing to trigger the release clause. So I believe that this move is very, very likely. It'll happen. I do think it'll very happen. And again, it's brilliant business by Liverpool in terms of there's been clubs throughout this sort of windows. Liverpool, they do their transfer business pretty well in terms of they don't spend a lot of money, because that's never been a club that they do. In terms of net spend, they never did. But whenever they want to get a player, they're very clinical about it, and they do it quickly. There's been players. Zubimendi has been linked to other clubs for a while now. Arsenal has been on for multiple weeks. Liverpool, there's no talks about Liverpool. Liverpool come in within a day, boom, they get it done. You saw Cody Gakpo to Manchester United. It was weeks and weeks and weeks, and even going back months. There was a little bit talks in the summer, and then in winter break after the World Cup, it was weeks of these rumors and these links. And Man United heavily trying to go after Cody Gakpo. Liverpool come in, one swoop, boom. We didn't even think Liverpool was a possibility. We wake up the next day and boom, Liverpool have got Cody Gakpo. That's kind of how they do business. They do a very, very good job of keeping the players that they want in private, in-house, and being very ruthless and clinical in the way that they go after their players. Brilliant business done by Liverpool if they're able to get this done. But I will say at the same time, it's going to be very interesting to see it. Because in my opinion, with Zubimendi going in with McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai, that sort of midfield is a little open in terms of there's a little bit of a lack of athleticism there. With guys like McAllister, and McAllister will work, but with guys like McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai, those are more quality players in terms of players on the ball. You'd want a little bit more of a defensive presence from your holding midfielder, because McAllister, yes, he'll run around and he'll work hard, Szoboszlai the same, but they're not really defensive workhorses in the midfield. You would think, you would want somebody that can do a little bit more of the defensive work. That's why Endo became a little bit valuable in that second half of the season. He was able to be that sort of backbone of that midfield. I think with Zubimendi coming in, you get more quality, you get more ball retention, but what happens when you lose the ball? What happens in transition? Who's going to be the guy? Let's say, Liverpool, they still continue to push up their fullbacks. Who's going to be the guy that covers holes in the defense? That's really that sort of, like defensive number 6. They don't have that. And you can only have so much of the ball. You're going to have to defend eventually. You will have to defend eventually. But I do think he'll be able to help Liverpool retain the ball. And I think Arne Slot will be able to adapt around Zubimendi's weaknesses. I do. I think Zubimendi is a player with some ability. I think overall his passing range, he needs to be able to play the long ball a little bit better for him to be a little bit more effective. He needs to improve that part of his game, because everything he does is intermediate, short range sort of passing, But yeah, I definitely think he's a sort of player that can receive the ball off the back line and be comfortable, That's, there's quality there. There really is. He played 4 matches at the European Championship. So yeah, I think it's overall decent signing for Liverpool. I do think Liverpool, for them to really make the next move, they just need to build this sort of continuity around Arne Slot with this new team, with the new tactics. That's really what is going to be the thing that pushes them into being able to compete in in this following year for something. Because you're not gonna get the player here or a player in here, a player there that's gonna drastically improve. There's already some ability in this team. Is whether or not that Arne Slot can implement a system of there's a sort of camaraderie amongst the team, a sort of tactical understanding of how to play under Arne Slot, and if they're able to execute it, that is what will take them to the next level. Not a signing here or there, but signings will help. Like Zubimendi, that will help. Even if he's not a starter right away, someone that can progressively turn into a starter, but also be a key role off the bench like what he was for Spain at the European Championship.